Welcome back to part 2 of Comic Book Hell. Last time we talked about the best DC books to read if you're new to comics. Today we're going to be talking about the best Marvel books. A slight disclaimer first before we begin. Unfortunately, I'm not that well versed with Marvel compared to DC for two reasons. The first one is I'm just not that interested in a lot of Marvel IPs. Also, Marvel has kind of been in the shitter for the past 10 years, I want to say. But from what I've read, I tried my best to pick all the books that I think newcomers would like. Not exactly essentials, but books that I think that, you know, are good from what I've read and whatnot. So let's get to it. The first one is New X-Men by Grant Morrison. This one might be debatable whether or not this one is actually good for new readers. Others might recommend Astonishing X-Men first. And while that's true that Astonishing X-Men is easier to get into, I prefer to read comics chronologically, especially when it comes to modern X-Men. New X-Men was the beginning of the modern age of X-Men, so I think it's more appropriate to start there. And besides, New X-Men isn't really that hard to get into. I mean, it's nowhere near as bad as Morrison's other works, but it can get a bit confusing for some new readers, but trust me when I say that it's a much better experience to read it in order. Also, I'm going to have to make another video, separate video for X-Men, because there's just way too much to talk about. So I'll make that eventually. Next is XFactor by Peter David. The second XFactor, because there's actually two XFactors. Neither of them have anything in common with one another. Actually, there's three XFactors. I hate comics. XFactor is up there as one of my favorite comics of all time. Probably in my top 5, possibly top 3. It's basically a book that showcases a bunch of smaller, unknown X-Men characters, like Wolfsbane, Siren, Multiple Man, who is one of my favorite X-Men characters. It's very crime noir. It's very self-contained for the most part. It's great stuff. I highly recommend it. Next up is Thor, God of Thunder by Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron's early run of Thor is pretty fucking legendary. It's not as essential as the 80s run, but it's probably the best Thor run in the modern age. It's pretty damn great. Thor, God of Thunder is really damn good. God Butcher and God Bomb, great stuff. I recommend it. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man by JMS. I dare not even try to pronounce his actual name. I'm probably going to have to make another video, again, separate video for Spider-Man because there's just way too much to talk about. But I believe the best modern run for Spider-Man is JMS's run with Amazing Spider-Man. Just like everything else I've been saying in this video, it's really damn great. It basically is Peter being older. He's not in high school, he's not in college, he's a science teacher. He's married with MJ. Him and MJ are fantastic in this run, and it's just really great. It's really good. Although, I will say this. It was collected in these somewhat big books. The first 2 books are the only ones worth reading. Runaways by Brian K. Vaughan. You're going to be seeing him a lot in the next video. Runaways is getting a TV show, a live-action show, later this year, I believe. It looks pretty bad, but at least we have the comic. The comic is very simple, the premise at least. It's about a group of kids who find out all their parents are part of a villain, super evil cult. They all run away, find out that they all have special abilities, and they all want to join forces to try to defeat their parents. Pretty gripping stuff. The artwork probably isn't that great. In fact, it isn't that good. But the writing is top-notch. Characters are very likable. It's great stuff. Next up is Vision by Tom King. I say this with 100% certainty that Vision by Tom King is the best book Marvel has released in 10 years. It is that damn good. It is some of the best shit you'll read from Marvel in years. It's really damn great. Next up is Inhumans by Paul Jenkins. The book gives you a very good idea on who the Inhumans are, how their society works, yada yada yada. It's pretty great stuff, very gripping. Some people say that it's like Game of Thrones. No, it isn't. It isn't. Get that image out of your head. But it's very good. Artwork very good. It's very good. It's very good. This next one is more of a personal favorite than essential, but fuck it. SheHulk by Dan Slott. Why is this on this list? Well, that's because SheHulk is my favorite Marvel character, so I felt like I had to put something on here. Originally, I was going to put Sensational She-Hulk by John Byrne, I don't know. But I think in terms of writing, I think Dan Slott's run on the character is much better. I fucking love Sensational She-Hulk. I love it to death. It's a blast to read. It's silly. It breaks the fourth wall. It's pretty dang great. But She-Hulk by Dan Slott is more character-driven. Both comics are very good. I recommend both, to be honest, but if you're going to read any of them first, I recommend reading Dan Slott's run first. And lastly, we have Wolverine, Old Man Logan. Quite honestly, I'm not entirely sure if this one is even that good to read for newcomers. But if you ever saw the movie and thought, hey, I wonder if they can make this story even stupider. Well, they did. Old Man Logan is really stupid. It's very dark, gritty, stupid at times, but you know what? It's fucking amazing. It's pretty damn great stuff. It's very entertaining to read. Like I said, it's very dark, very gritty. It's almost as if an edgy 13-year-old wrote it. But no, instead, Mark Miller wrote it. So basically the same thing. That was a joke for all you comic readers out there. If you want to read a comic and have a damn good time reading it, then go ahead and read it, because it's pretty entertaining. And that's about all she wrote. Like I said, I'm not that well versed with Marvel, so if I was, I'd probably have better suggestions than this, but hopefully these are good suggestions for new readers, or just, I don't know. I'm a failure. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to disappoint you. Part 3 is going to be about everything else. So hopefully I'll get that video out pretty soon. Yeah. Boop 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 boop.